Okay, so this is a numerical based on the refrigeration cycle, that is vapor compression uh, cycle we can have, that is VCC. Okay, so just I read the problem. If you it is possible for you, you can write it. The pressure in the evaporator of R134A refrigerator is 1.902 bar and pressure in the condenser is 12.37 bar. Calculate COP for ideal reverse Carnot cycle. Okay, so this is the first part of the problem where it is mentioned that the evaporator pressure is given, that is R134 refrigerant is there, and evaporator pressure is 1.902 bar while condenser pressure is 12.37 bar. Then you have to find out the you have to calculate the refrigerating effect. Calculate the refrigerating effect per unit mass of refrigerant and COP for the following cycles. So there are different cycles or cases are given. So based on that cases and cycle, you have to find out the refrigerant effects and sorry, not refrigerant effect. Yes, refrigerant effect per minute mass of refrigerant and COP for the following cycle. Okay, COP also you have to find out. So what are the cycles? The first is dry saturated vapor delivered to the condenser after isentropic compression. That is first condition is given. Second condition is given, that is dry saturated vapor delivered to the compressor before isentropic compression. So that is second condition is given, and third condition is given, dry saturated vapor delivered to the compressor before isentropic compression and liquid after condensation undercooled by 10 Kelvin. So that is the third condition it is given. Okay, so these three conditions are there. For that purpose, you have to find out the refrigerating effect per unit mass of refrigerant and COP of the refrigeration cycle. So these two quantities you have to find out. Now, apart from that, the next thing is also asked, what is that? Also find the mass flow rate required for R134A and indicated power of compressor per kilowatt of refrigeration capacity. Okay, so this is also you have to find out. So this is the problem. See, this actually this seems to be very lengthy problem. But see, it will not be asked the complete problem in the examination, but each and everything is covered in this problem. So that's why I have taken it. I have selected it. You can solve this problem, and then there is no worry about the other problems or other issues. Okay, now for solving the problem, this problem in the examination, the pH chart of R134 is given, R134A refrigerant is given, and for that purpose, the chart may be given, pH chart may be given, or a table may be given in which the values of enthalpies are mentioned. The values of enthalpy may be mentioned in the we can say that table, okay, in the tabular form. So any one way they may have be asked this problem. So we are going to solve right now, that is based on the chart, because you should understood that chart and you have to solve the problem based on the chart only. So let us discuss how to solve it. So what is the given data? Given data is that refrigerant is R134A and the evaporator pressure is 1.902 bar while condenser pressure is 12.37 bar. So refrigerant is given, that is R134A. It means that you have to use the property tables of R134A, or you have to use the pH chart for R134A. Okay, so that's why the refrigerant is given, and the second quantities are given, that is the pressures. So pressures of evaporator and pressures of condensers are given. Pressures of evaporator and pressures of condensers are given. So if these three quantities are known, then you can find out the anything for that refrigeration cycle. So what you do next, you can draw the pH chart for this. Okay, so now pH chart for three different cycles will be different. So we will see how that pH chart is going to vary. Okay, but you should understand that the 1 to 2 process is reversible adiabatic, 2 to 3 is constant pressure, 3 to 4 isenthalpic, 4 to 1 again constant pressure process. Okay, now before going to solve this problem, let us understand the pH chart. So whatever the quantity are given on the pH chart, let us discuss it. So those who were present for yesterday's lecture, they have understood it, but once again let us discuss it. So I think all of you are having the pH chart with you, the hard copy of that, and if you are having that, then you can understand then what is the values are there and how it is given. So you can see that the pressure is on y-axis and enthalpy is on x-axis. Pressure is on y-axis and enthalpies are on x-axis. So if you want to find out the pressures, let us consider 7 bar pressure. So 7 bar pressure line is like this and it will be a horizontal line. If you want to find out the 3 bar pressure line, then that will be a horizontal line like this. Okay, so if you want to find out the 0.80 bar pressure, then that line will be somewhere here. So likewise, the pressure lines are the horizontal lines. Is it visible to all of you? Are you getting this point or not? See, are you understanding the chart or not? Yes, okay. Then the vertical lines are showing you the enthalpies. So what are the values of enthalpies? 140 is the minimum and 560 is the maximum. Okay, so 420's line will be a vertical line which is passing like this. So these are the vertical lines which are showing you the constant enthalpy lines. For example, 280 line. Let us consider 280 line. Then that 280 line will be somewhere here, which is a vertical line like this. Okay, so have you got that 280 line? So this is the pH diagram, and now other lines let us discuss. Next important lines are this dark line is indicating what? The dark line is indicating that is what? The nothing but the saturated liquid line, and this dark line is indicating saturated vapor line. This saturated vapor line, saturated liquid line forming a vapor dome. It is showing you the vapor dome. The both lines where it is meeting that point, we are calling it as a critical point. So this is a point, critical point. At the top you will have the critical point. Okay, it is a critical point. You can see that critical point at the top. Now on saturated liquid line, you are knowing that there is only liquid. So the dryness fraction of that line is 0. On saturated liquid, there is only liquid, so saturated liquid line is having the dryness fraction of 0, while saturated vapor line is having the only vapors, and that's why it is showing you the dryness fraction is equal to 1. Dryness fraction is equal to 1. Okay, so if you divide the region in between that, which is a wet region, wet region means what? It is having the mixture of liquid and vapor. It is having the mixture of liquid and vapor. So if it is 50% liquid and 50% vapor, then that line is going through the center. You can see that there is a dryness fraction of 0.5 line, and that will show you the dryness fraction 0.5 means 50% vapor, 50% liquid. Similarly, 0.20 line. So 0.20 line is also showing you what? 20% vapor, 80% liquid. 0.70% line means what? There is 0.70% vapors, 30% line. sorry 30% liquid. So like this there are different dryness fraction lines. Okay, you can see that is the black lines, those are showing you the dryness fraction lines. Now next lines are there, that is important lines, that is entropy line, constant entropy line. So you can see that the blue lines are the constant entropy lines. You can see that the blue lines are the constant entropy lines which are becoming straight inside the dome. Okay, so those are the constant entropy line. So if you want to see that the entropy of 215, then that line will be here. Entropy of 1.85 is here. It is 2.15, 2.20, 2.25. Remember that. It is 1.95, 1.90, 1.80, 1.70, 1.75 and 1.70. It is going like that. And here you can see that it is 1.2. See, we are not interested in these values, but it is important to know that how the entropy lines are there. Then next lines are there, that is what? The constant volume lines. Constant volume lines. So what is how that constant volume lines are showing? The green lines are the constant volume lines. Green lines are the constant volume lines. So you can see that the value of constant volume line is maximum of 0.16, 0.50, 0.40, 0.30, 0.20, 0.15, 0.1 and above that the fraction of 0.1. So minimum line shown here is 0.0020 meter cube per kg. That is the constant volume lines. Constant specific volume lines you can say. So if you want to find out the constant volume specific volume line of 0.004, then it is showing like this. Okay, have you got it? Okay, now the last but very important line is the constant temperature line. So constant temperature lines are the red lines. So you can see that 0.20 line, minus 20 line is going up here. Then it will be a same line as that of the pressure line inside the dome, and then it goes up. See, inside this dome, the pressure lines and temperature lines will be same. You are knowing it, that for particular pressure there is a particular saturation temperature. Boiling point of water is 100 degrees centigrade, means it is boiling at 1 atmospheric pressure. So 1 atmospheric pressure and 100 degrees centigrade both are fixed. Pressure, if pressure is constant, then the temperature is constant during the phase change, means inside this dome. Phase change means inside this dome. On this side you will have the liquid phase, on this side you will have the vapor phase, in between that you will have the mixture of liquid and vapor. So during that phase change the temperature and pressure lines are same. So if you consider the 0 degree centigrade line, then that is coming like this. It is going with 3 bar pressure up to this point and then it goes up. So it will be vertical, after that it becomes vertical. Remember this thing. It is going downward in this side, but it is going upward in the liquid region. So if you consider the minus 30 degree centigrade line, then it is coming from here. It will be horizontal in this range and then it goes up. So likewise the constant temperature lines are there. Now I think all of you got this chart. Is there any doubt regarding this chart? All of you got this chart? See, if you are having the chart in your hand, then you will understand it in a better manner. So if you are not having the chart, take the printout of it afterwards and try to read that chart, because it is important, and once you read the chart, then you can solve the problem of 6 marks. 6 marks problem is there in the examination, so you can solve it. Okay, so now let us go to the next part, that is solving the problem. So how to solve the problem by using this chart? So see, the first case is given ideal reverse Carnot cycle, and we have to find, for ideal reverse Carnot cycle, we have to find the COP of that cycle. Ideal reverse Carnot cycle. So in ideal reverse Carnot cycle, what are the four processes we are having? The four processes are, the first is reversible adiabatic compression, and we are calling it as a 1 to 2 process. So that is the isentropic process. Reversible adiabatic means isentropic process. Entropy remains constant and there is no heat exchange. That is called as the isentropic process. So ideal reverse Carnot cycle is having the isentropic process. First process, that is the 1 to 2, and this process will occur in compressor. This process will occur in compressor, remember that. Okay, the next, reversible isothermal heat rejection, and that during that process the T1 is constant. That process is occurring in condenser, and we are calling it as a 2 to 3 process. We will call it as a 2 to 3 process, reversible isothermal heat rejection. Then third process is reversible adiabatic expansion, which is again isentropic. During that, heat exchange is zero, entropy remains constant, and that is occurring in expansion wall, and we will call it as a 3 to 4. Then fourth process is reversible isothermal heat absorption, which is taking place in evaporator, during which the temperature remains constant. We will call it as 4 to 1 process. This is for Carnot cycle. This is for Carnot cycle, remember that. Now these four processes you have to plot on the pH diagram. So before that, what is given? The refrigerant is given R134A, evaporator pressure is given 1.902, and condenser pressure is given 12.37 bar. So this is given data. So you have to take the pH chart of R134A, and if we see that, this will be like this, that R134A pH chart. Okay, now see, we have given only the two quantities, that is two pressures. So let us mark the two pressure lines on this chart. Okay, if you are having the chart and you are having the pencil and scale with you, try to mark it with the dotted line. Okay, so see, you have to do that only. So let us mark the evaporator pressure line. Evaporator pressure line is 1.902, means it is just below the 2 bar line. Okay, it is just below the 2 bar line. So you can draw that line like this. So this is the dotted line which is showing you the evaporator pressure PE. Evaporator pressure PE. Okay, evaporator pressure PE. Now the next pressure line is condenser pressure 12.37. We can consider it is above this 10. Okay, above 10. It is 10 to 20. So you have to take that, the fifth part of that portion, and mark the line. That is the horizontal line which is showing you the pressure, that is condenser pressure. That is 12 bar pressure, approximately 12 bar pressure, and that is nothing but the condenser pressure. So these two lines are showing you the limit of evaporator pressure and condenser pressure. I think it is, you can draw these lines and there is no problem for that. Okay, now if these two lines are showing you the two pressures, now can you tell me the temperatures for these two processes? So what is the temperature for evaporator? Just type it in the chat box. What should be the evaporator's temperature? What should be the evaporator's temperature? Can you type it in your chat box? Chat box में type करा. What is the temperature of evaporator? Can you see the temperatures? So what is the temperature of evaporator? Can you see it? Yes, it is minus 10. Okay, you can see that will be minus 10 because here is a minus 10 line and here is the minus 10 line. So this is a nothing but the temperature of this line, minus 10. Okay, that is a minus 10. You can see that is nothing but the minus 10 degree centigrade temperature line for evaporator pressure, and for condenser pressure it is near about 40 degrees centigrade. You can see that here the temperature of that is 40 degrees centigrade. So condenser pressure you are knowing, evaporator pressure you are knowing. You can find out the COP for Carnot cycle. For Carnot cycle, the two limits are required, that is condenser pressure and evaporator pressure. So you can find out that values. Okay, before that, if you draw the what we can say, if you draw the cycle on this, then how it will be? See, for cycle I am considering that after compression you are getting the uh, saturated vapor. Okay, after compression you are getting the saturated vapor. Then that in that case the point 2 will be here. After compression means 1 to 2 process is completed and you are getting the saturated vapor. So after compression the condenser entry is there, so that's why the 2 point will be somewhere here, and you can have the 1 point with constant entropy process like this. So you have to draw the two point first and draw 1 to 2 as a constant entropy line which is near about 1.70 line, and that will be a constant entropy line, that is first adiabatic compression isentropic process. Okay, then next is 2 to 3, that is isothermal heat rejection, means temperature will remains constant, and that you can draw a horizontal line from 2 to 3, because see in this region as I have said that temperature and pressure lines are same, so that will be like this, and where it is meeting to the saturated liquid line, that is point 3, so this point will be 3. Then reversible adiabatic expansion 3 to 4. So reversible adiabatic means what? Again it is a constant entropy process. So you have to draw the constant entropy process from 3 to up to the evaporator pressure line. So draw that. If you draw it, it will be somewhere here. So constant entropy process, it will be line which is parallel to, or we can say that just like a constant entropy line, it will be like this, and the point will be 4 where it is meeting to the evaporator pressure. And the final process is isothermal process, that is again a horizontal line, so you can have the 4 to 1 process is like this. So this is what the cycle on pH chart. Okay, so see in this case I have assumed that after compression you are getting the saturated vapors. Okay, then let us find out the COP, because we have to find out the COP only in this case, so we will not go in much detail for this cycle. So COP is, you have to find out the COP. So COP, for finding out the COP you should know that 4 to 1 is constant temperature heat absorption, and that we are calling it as a Q2. So that is occurring into the evaporator. Okay, it is occurring into the evaporator. So that is the heat absorption in evaporator. Then Q1 is the heat rejection in condenser. Heat rejection in the condenser, that is Q1. And then we are having 1 to 2, which is a process of compression. We are calling it as isentropic compression, which is occurring in compressor. So Q2 you are supplying here, which is at temperature T2, we can say. Q1 we are rejecting, it is again the temperature at T1. Work you are supplying for the compressor, that is WC. So with this, let us find out the COP. So COP, we can find out the COP by using relation COP is equal to refrigeration effect upon compressor work, and that you can write Q2 upon WC. Now you can write for WC, you can write Q2 upon Q2 minus Q1, that is compressor work, you can write Q2 minus Q1. Okay. Now if this cycle is a reversible Carnot cycle or ideal Carnot cycle, reversible Carnot cycle or ideal Carnot cycle, then this Q2 is proportional to T2 and Q1 is proportional to T1. So you can say that for reversible Carnot cycle, COP is equal to T2 upon T2 minus T1. For reversible ideal cycle or ideal Carnot cycle, you can write T2 upon T2 minus T1. And in this case, what is T2? T2 is minus 10 degrees centigrade, means it is 263 Kelvin. Minus 10 degrees centigrade means 263 Kelvin. It is T2. And what about the T1? T1 is 40 degrees centigrade, it means 313 Kelvin. 40 degrees centigrade means 313 Kelvin. Now if you put these values in this equation, then COP becomes 263 divided by 313 minus 263, you will get COP is equal to 5.26. The unit for this COP will be no unit, because it is a ratio of heat or energy. So that's why it is not having any sort of unit. You can say that it is unitless quantity. So COP of refrigerator is 5.26. 5.26. Is it okay? Okay, so this is about the Carnot cycle, reverse Carnot cycle. Now let us go to the next point. See, there is next point that it is mentioned here that the dry saturated vapor delivered to the condenser after isentropic compression. So this is actually not a Carnot cycle, but it is a VCC, vapor compression cycle. And in this case, it is mentioned that the dry saturated vapors are delivered to the condenser after isentropic compression. So let us see that there are four processes. So what are those? Adiabatic expansion, just like in Carnot cycle, 1 to 2. Then isobaric heat rejection, that is pressure will be constant, compressor pressure will be constant, that is 2 to 3 process. In case of Carnot cycle, this process is isothermal, but for simple VCC cycle, it is a isobaric process. It is a simple isobaric process. Then third process is isenthalpic expansion, in which you are saying that enthalpy remains constant. Enthalpy will remains constant, and that is 3 to 4 process. That is called as a isenthalpic process. Okay, and in case of Carnot cycle, it is reversible adiabatic or isentropic process. Okay, now fourth process is isobaric heat absorption. So we can say that the in this case the pressure of evaporator will constant. It is not temperature. You have to say that it is a evaporator pressure will remains constant. That is 4 to 1. Okay, that is 4 to 1. And now if you plot it on or let us see that whatever the given data, refrigerant is this much and pressure of evaporator and pressure of condenser is 12.37. So if let us draw the cycle on the pH chart. Let us draw the cycle on pH chart. Okay, so same process you have to do. The first draw these two lines, dotted lines, so you will understand where those. So evaporator pressure line is coming here only, because 2 bar pressure line, below that 1.9 bar pressure line you can draw like this. That is called as the evaporator pressure line. Similarly, the condenser pressure line will be at 12 bar pressure. and you can say that that is a condenser pressure line. So these two lines are there. Now let us mark the point 1, 2, 3, 4 on this chart. See, you have to mark that 1, 2, 3, 4 points on this chart. So what is the condition is given in this case? The condition is important, that is dry saturated vapor are delivered to the condenser. म्हणजे काय की whatever the vapors are entering into the condenser are having the dry saturated conditions, means that vapors are not wet or that vapors are not superheated. Those are dry saturated vapors. Dry saturated vapors means which point is given. Okay, so what is the condition is given, or which point is indicating this situation? The entry of condenser, where the entry of the condenser is taking place. At what point the entry of the condenser is taking place? 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you tell me? Yes, type it in the chat box. The entry in the condenser, where the entry in the condenser is taking place. 1, 2, 3, 4. At what point the condenser entry is there? Yes, it is a point 2. So after compression, the point 2 is there, because 1 to 2 is a compression process. So in compressor, the entry is 1. After compression, 2 point will be there, and then it goes to the condenser. So entry to the condenser is the 2 point. And it is mentioned here, the point 2 is having the saturated vapor, dry saturated vapors, means 2 points should lie on this saturated vapor line. 2 points should lie on this saturated vapor line, and we are having the condenser pressure line like this. So the 2 points should be marked at this point. So you can mark that 2 point here. You can say that this is a 2 point, point 2. Okay, any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? How to mark the point 2, or why I have marked the point 2? Any doubt in this? Shall I proceed? Okay, so let us proceed. Let us proceed then. Let us proceed. Now see, I have marked the point 2, and the first process is saying that it is a isentropic process or reversible adiabatic process. Isentropic process means what? Entropy remains constant. So you have to see that the constant entropy line which is passing through the point 2. Isentropic process means entropy remains constant. You have to see that where is the constant entropy line. So you can see that the constant entropy line is here, that is the blue line, that is 1.7 entropy is there. So that blue line is indicating constant entropy line, and where it is meeting to the evaporator pressure, where it is meeting to the evaporator pressure, that should be the point 1. Where that line, that is constant entropy line, is meeting to the evaporator pressure line, that should be the point 1, because reversible adiabatic compression is taking place. So we can say that draw the line from 2 which is passing through the reversible adiabatic process and meeting to the evaporator pressure. So this point is the point 1. So likewise 1 point is marked. Okay, likewise the 1 point is marked. Have you got this point? One point. See, if you are having the printout, then do it with me. If you are having that point, then do with me. That is 1 point. Okay, then next 2, 3 to 4, 3 to 4. Sorry, 2 to 3. 2 to 3. 2 to 3 process is isobaric process. Isobaric means it is a constant pressure process. It is a constant pressure process, and during that the condensation is occurring. Means what? After condensation you will get the saturated liquid. After condensation you will get the saturated liquid. It is not mentioned here, so you have to write, consider that you will get the saturated liquid, and saturated liquid line means this dark line. So where it is meeting to the condenser pressure, that must be point 3. So you can draw from 2 point, draw the horizontal line where it is meeting to the saturated liquid line, that is point 3. That is point 3. Okay, have you got that point 3? Have you got that point 3? So this is point 3. Now next is the isenthalpic process. Isenthalpic process. 3-4 process is the isenthalpic process. So isenthalpic process means enthalpy remains constant. Isenthalpic process means enthalpy remains constant, and enthalpy remains constant means it is a vertical line. It is a vertical line because enthalpy is on x-axis. So you can say that enthalpy remains constant means it will be a vertical line, and that vertical line you can start from 3 up to the evaporator pressure. Up to the evaporator pressure expansion will occur. So that vertical line you can draw from 3 where it is meeting to the evaporator pressure. So that will be point 4. You can say that that is a point 4. Okay, you can say that that is a point 4. So 3 to 4 is the isenthalpic expansion. 3 to 4 is isenthalpic expansion. Isenthalpic expansion. Okay, and then 4 to 1 you can draw easily because 4 point you are knowing, 1 point you are knowing, you can draw that 4 to 1. So likewise the cycle is completed, and you should understand the 4 processes in this diagram. So what are the 4 processes? That is 1 to 2 is compression, which is occurring in the compressor. 2 to 3 is heat rejection, which is occurring in condenser. 3 to 4 is expansion, which is occurring in the expansion valve, and 4 to 1 is again heat absorption in the evaporator. Okay, so if you are knowing these 4 processes, you can say, you can find out what you have to find out. You have to find out refrigeration effect for per unit mass of refrigerant, and you have to find out the COP for that. Third, you have to find out mass flow rate of refrigerant if for per kilowatt of refrigeration capacity, and indicated power of compressor for per kilowatt of refrigeration capacity. So these 4 quantities you have to find out. These 4 quantities you have to find out. Okay. Now for finding out it, you should understand. See, the heat absorbed in the evaporator is Q2. Heat absorbed in the evaporator is Q2, while heat rejected in the condenser is Q1. Heat rejected in condenser is Q1, while work supplied during the compression is WC. Work supplied in the compressor is WC. So this is what the three quantities are there. Now can you tell me what is the refrigeration effect in this case? Which is the refrigeration effect, Q1 or Q2? Yes, what is the refrigeration effect, Q1 or Q2? Yes, type it in the chat box. What is the refrigeration effect, Q1 or Q2? I am saying Q2 is heat absorbed in the evaporator, while Q1 is the heat rejected in the condenser. So which is the refrigeration effect? Which is the refrigeration effect? Refrigeration effect means what? You have to absorb the heat from certain space. So in which process you are absorbing the heat? You are absorbing the heat in the evaporator. फ्रीज मध्ये इव्हॅपोरेटर असतो आणि तो इव्हॅपोरेटर हीट ऍब्सॉर्ब करतो, त्याला काय म्हणायचं? रेफ्रिजरेशन इफेक्ट. किंवा एअर कंडिशनिंगच्या केसमध्ये रूम मध्ये एसी लावलेला असतो आणि इव्हॅपोरेटर जो असतो तो रूम मध्ये असतो, तर तो जो हीट ऍब्सॉर्ब करतो त्याला म्हणायचं रेफ्रिजरेशन इफेक्ट. while Q1 is the heat rejected by the condenser to the atmosphere. म्हणजे काय? That heat is rejected by the condenser inside outside the room, that is Q1. That is a Q1. So in this case the Q2 is nothing but the refrigeration effect, because it is absorbed in the evaporator. Evaporator is absorbing that. So that's why we are calling it as a refrigeration effect. Remember this. See, that's why I'm saying that you should understand the 4 processes. What is 1, 2, where it is occurring, 2 to 3, what is where it is occurring. Likewise. Okay, so if you are understanding, then that is, it is not having the difficulty. So let us see that the Q2 is the refrigeration effect. So let us solve the problem first. The first quantity is asked, that refrigeration effect. Now before going for the refrigeration effect, see this type of the problem is there, then you have to write down the enthalpies of these 4 points. You have to write down the enthalpies of these 4 points. What is that? H1, H2, H3 and H4. So what is H1? H1 is H1. How will you calculate the H1? The point 1 is here and enthalpy is given on this x-axis. So H1 is indicated here, somewhere here, somewhere here. So you can say that H1 is 380 kilojoule per kg. Okay, so these are the values, are approximate values, not correct values. If it is tables, then you can say that it is correct value, but from chart you will get the approximate values, so you can write it like this also, 380. Okay, now H2. So for H2 you have to see that the enthalpy of point 2. So where you will see that, you will see it on the x-axis. So that H2 is equal to, you can see that the line where it is meeting, it is 410 kilojoule, 410 kilojoule, 410 kilojoule per kg. Okay, you can mark like that. Then next is H3. So you can say that from here, if you draw the line and where it is meeting to the 260. So that's why the H3 is 260 kilojoules per kg. Now can you tell me the H4? What is the value of H4? Yes, anyone? H4, what is the value of H4? Can you tell me? Tell me the value of H4. See, H3 and H4 will be same. H3 and H4 will be same. Remember that. H3 and H4 will be same because it is isenthalpic process. Enthalpy remains constant. So 3 and 4 processes are the isenthalpic process. So it must be equal to H3. H4 and H3 must be same. So you can say that H4 is equal to H3, which is 260 kilojoules per kg. Now see these 4H values, if you are knowing, then whatever the asked conditions are there, you can solve it easily now. Okay, so refrigeration effect, let us go to that. Refrigeration effect is Q2 and you can calculate it H1 minus H4, H1 minus H4. So you can find out it mass of refrigerant multiply by H1 minus H4. Mass of refrigerant H1 minus H4, because capital H is showing you the total values, small h values are showing you the per kg values. Small h is per kg, capital H is total values. So this difference you should remember at any way. Small q will show you the heat transfer per unit mass, capital Q will show you the total heat transfer. So here the H1 minus H4 you can write mass of refrigerant multiplied by H1 minus H4. So in the problem itself it is mentioned that you have to take per unit mass of refrigerant. Per unit mass of refrigerant means 1 kg refrigerant you have to consider. So if you consider 1 kg of refrigerant, then H1 is 380, H4 is 260, the values will comes 120 kilojoule per kg. So that much refrigeration effect is there, 120 kilojoule per kg of refrigerant. 120 kilojoule per kg of refrigerant. That is the refrigeration effect you will have. Refrigeration effect you will have. Okay. Then next, compressor work. Compressor work you can find out, that is WC. So you can find out it by H2 minus H1. H2 minus H1. So you can say that WC is equal to H2 minus H1. And you can find out it by mass of refrigerant multiplied by H2 minus H1. So what is the values? 1 into 410 minus 380. So it comes 30 kilojoules per kg. 30 kilojoule per kg. So this is the compressor work. Okay, this is the compressor work. Now what about the next point? Next point is the COP of refrigeration cycle. So that COP can be defined as a refrigeration effect. What we want? What we want? Refrigeration effect we want. What you supply? Compressor work. We supply compressor work. So because it is the electricity that we are supplying. compressor is getting the electricity, so that we are supplying. So you can say that the COP is equal to 120 divided by 30, that will comes 4. That will comes 4. So this is what the COP. Okay, this is what the COP of refrigeration cycle. Okay, then next, mass flow of refrigerant for per kilowatt of refrigeration capacity. Now you have to find out the mass flow rate. If mass flow rate, sorry, here the spelling mistake is there, mass flow rate of refrigerant for per kilowatt of refrigeration effect. Mass flow rate of refrigerant for per kilowatt of refrigeration effect. So you are knowing that MR you have to find out. So what is given? The Q1 value is given, because 1 kilowatt of refrigeration means Q2 value is given. 1 kilowatt of refrigeration means Q2, and that we can find out as H1 minus H4. H1 minus H4, we are knowing it. Okay, refrigeration effect Q2 is nothing but H1 minus H4. So we are knowing that 1 kilowatt refrigeration effect, if we want, then how much refrigerant should flow, that we have to find out. So that can be found out like this, that is Q2 is equal to H1 minus H4, and we are knowing that Q2 is 1 kilowatt. So you can say Q2 is equal to mass of refrigerant multiplied by H1 minus H4, we are knowing it. So mass of refrigerant is equal to Q2 divided by H1 minus H4. H1 minus H4, and that you can write 1 is the given value, 380 minus 260, so that will comes near about 0.0083 kgs per second. 0.0083 kg per second, because see the Q2's uh, unit is kilojoule per second. Q2 चा unit का है kilojoule per second है. Mass of refrigerant चा unit का है kg. Okay, or you can say that we want to find out that, and H1 minus H4 is what? It is nothing but kilojoule per kg. Kilojoule per kg. So if you simplify that units, then it will comes kgs per second. It will comes kgs per second. Okay, now you have to find out how much power is required. Indicated power is required for refrigeration of 1 kilowatt. If you want how much power is required for the compressor, if you want 1 kilowatt of refrigeration capacity, then in that case we are knowing, we have to find out the compressor work. WC is equal to H2 minus H4, and we are knowing that for 1 kilowatt mass of refrigerant required into H2 minus H1, H2 minus H1, and mass of refrigerant we have calculated for 1 kilowatt of refrigeration effect. 1 kilowatt of refrigeration effect is required, then this much mass should flow, that we have found out. So it is 0.0083 into H2 minus H4, sorry, H2 minus H1, and you will get 0.25 kilojoule per second, that is nothing but kilowatt. So 0.25 kilowatt is the answer for, what is that? The indicated power for compressor for per kilowatt of refrigeration effect. Okay, it is 0.25 kilowatt power is required for 1 kilowatt of refrigeration. Okay, are you getting this point? Yes or no? So 0.25 you have to supply kilowatt, and that will absorb near about 1 kilowatt of refrigeration or heat from the space. Okay, now let us go to the next condition. Just I will explain this condition, and then we will stop, because you can solve this problem at home also. So just I want to explain the condition. So what is the condition? The dry saturated vapor delivered to the compressor before isentropic compression. So see these four processes, as we have discussed previously, the same processes are there, and you are having the pH chart. So on pH chart, the first step is that you have to mark the evaporator pressure line, you have to mark the condenser pressure line. So these two lines you have to mark first, and now you have to draw the uh, cycle 1, 2, 3, 4. So mark point 1, 2, 3, 4 as we are marking it previously. Now for marking this, what is the hint is given? The hint is given that the dry saturated vapors delivered to the compressor are, we can say that, before isentropic compression. What is the meaning of that? It means that whenever you are supplying the compressor, that will have the dry saturated vapors. Dry saturated vapors are supplied to the compressor. So inlet of the compressor is having the condition that it is having the dry saturated vapors. And we are knowing that the compression process starts from point 1. So one point is having the dry saturated vapors. One point is having the dry saturated vapors. Now there are two pressures, one or two. So which pressure line you have to consider? Condenser pressure line or evaporator pressure line? The simple thing is there that before compression म्हटलंय म्हणजे काय की pressure will be less. Before compression means the pressure will be less. So pressure is less means which pressure? That is evaporator pressure. So evaporator pressure is there and dry saturated vapors are there. So that point will be at this point and we can mark it here. Sorry, here you have to mark that point 1. Okay, so mark point 1 first. Mark point 1. After that you will have the adiabatic compression process. Okay, adiabatic compression process, and that adiabatic compression process will take place from 1 to 2, which is a reversible adiabatic manner.